Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us. We're continuing our series here with Aerosmith School and Learning and the research that has recently been released that is truly solidifying what so many people a part of this community already know, including Barbara Aerosmith Young, who created this learning program which changes the brain. And so we're talking about kids with learning difficulties, learning disabilities, but it is bigger than that. So we have kids who have, social, emotional issues, who are not fitting into the school system. It's, it's creating definitely negative impacts on their overall life. And so what Aerosmith offers is a solution to this. And this is why I'm so excited about it, because I truly believe as a mom, it is one of the answers to our education system and helping not just the children and the parents, but the educators as well. And ultimately what we're trying to do with this series, if you missed the other video, please watch it, the link's above, is to get this implemented on a public level, to really offer this to everyone. And right now we need a grassroots movement. We need you to listen to these stories. And so who we've brought in with us today here at the Aerosmith location in Peterborough is Louise. And Louise, say your last name for me again.
Bardswitch.
Bardswitch. And Louise is a grandma, which I love this. I love this angle because the grandparents have such an even bigger investment or a different lens through than what the parent looks at for the grandchild. And I'd love to hear your story. And I don't know it. This is the first time I'm going to hear it on camera, just like you guys. So you have a grandson who is 9.
He's 9.
His name is, can we say Griffin. His name? Okay, we can talk about his name. His name, Griffin. And why did Griffin come to Aerosmith?
Griffin was having pretty serious difficulties in school. He was in grade 3 at the time we had him tested, and the schools didn't want to test until they're 3 apparently, although we knew he had difficulties before that. But he was in grade 3 and didn't know his alphabet. He was clearly a very bright child. His reasoning was really good. His memory for certain things was fantastic, much better than mine. But it really looked like the possibility of him reading was going to be pretty slim. So we did get him tested. I took him to, we didn't do it through the school system because there's a huge backlog.
That's another vlog.
There's a huge waiting list. So paid for private testing. Basically they said this kid's got really severe learning disabilities. He's never going to read. You're going to have to, I'm sorry. You're going to have to accommodate him. So they suggested buying him a computer, have a computer read for him, using it to write for him.
You get me emotional because I've heard those words before. And when I sit with Barbara, this is the reality of this discussion. There are so many parents. If I were to tell you on a day-to-day basis, the calls, the emails that I get where parents feel just how you are right now, Louise, and we should get you a Kleenex. I'll get you one. Ryan will get you one.
That would be a really good idea.
Yeah, Ryan will grab me. If I were to...
And you can cut that part out.
You know what, though? It's the reality of this because it's like giving your child a death sentence. And as a parent, all you want is your child to thrive. And what we know is that they are capable of more. And you know that in your heart.
Yeah, you know that.
You see how smart they are, and you know what they're capable of. But you have these people telling you, this is it. This is all we can do.
Exactly. And when you hear it from the school system, it's very easy to take that as the answer. But we did do some research, and I had read The Brain That Changes Itself way back, so was aware of the Aerosmith School, just kind of peripherally, and then did some research, talked to some friends who had children, whether it was nieces, nephews, whatever, who had gone through Aerosmith and had really good results. So looked into it, brought him here, had testing again, and he was accepted into the school. That's basically it.
Can I ask you how the testing differed? Even the results and how they were delivered to you?
I don't know in terms of the actual testing, because I didn't sit in on the testing that was done in either case. I know at Aerosmith they apparently test something like 18 or 19 different brain functions. And as it was explained to us for reading, which was our real concern for little Griffey, there are 6 or 7 functions that underlie the ability to read. So symbol recognition, the ability to track a line, a whole bunch of things. And he was lacking quite a number of those. They explained to us that children that lack maybe 1 or 2 of those underlying skills might be able to work it out themselves. But he was not going to be one of those kids. He was going to need some really serious help to get it together.
But they also told you that they know how to correct it.
Yes, they did.
And how does that make you feel?
Pretty good. Yeah.
That hope. Hope is the glue.
Yeah, it really is.
Because it changes your whole approach and your lens of how you see.
I am so embarrassed I am crying through this entire.
I hope, I don't want you to be embarrassed at all, because that's the real raw emotion of how this makes you feel. And I know there's people on the other side of this camera who've seen me cry many nights myself to sleep, because you see what that child is capable of, and then you also pass on your lens where you see their world being so hard, because you don't want them judged.
Yeah,
and
I think one of the really key things and we were very fortunate that we caught him when we did, because I think he was on the edge of having some really severe emotional damage. Kids at school had started noticing he was different, and while the schools have very good anti-bullying programs and so on, being different is tough.
Oh, I know.
Really tough.
It's also a blessing, but until you're an adult, you just don't know that.
And kids can really go through a lot of damage if they're seen as different. So when he came to Aerosmith, I mean, that was one of the really nice things. Before he had talked about, I don't really have any friends, which was not true, because he did have friends, but it was
their
his
perception,
own perception. And here he has friends. Here he's comfortable. Here he's feeling good about himself.
How have you seen him change since his time here?
His confidence is much better. He's only been in the school a year, and it's probably going to take him 2 or 3 years to get to where he can go back into the regular school system. So we're seeing some difference in terms of his reading and that sort of thing. He comes home happy. I drive him back and forth. And when I pick him up, it'll be,
you're a hell of a grandma, Louise.
What else are you going to do? So when I pick him up, it'll be, Grandma, I had a great day. I got a personal best, or I got 2 personal bests, or I mastered something, or, and that's really cool.
You just want them to be happy. You really do.
I want them to be happy. I want them to be successful. And one of the things that kind of makes me crazy, and I know this is part of what you're trying to accomplish today, one of the things that makes me crazy is that as a province, we're doing nothing.
This is what we talked about.
And even for a government who is trying desperately to save money, this is like really short-sighted. Every kid who grows up and is continuing to learn, deal with a learning disability, is a kid who's not going to be productive, not going to be a good taxpayer. Instead, they're going to be a drain on our society. And so it's just stupid.
You don't know how many people you're going to help today, Louise. I had no idea what Louise's story was when she came in here. I just said, can you please get me a grandparent? That's all I said when I wanted an interview.
Well,
and the universe put you in here, let me tell you. I need people to know your background. Yes, I need people to know what you did for a living.
I was in the Ontario college system for 30 years. I started as a teacher, then I was in information technology. And when I retired, I was a dean at Humber College.
You are invested in this. You understand the system, you understand education, and when we talked to Barbara about all of these things, you've just reiterated it from a personal level, and that's how we get people to listen. Because this is how we get people to listen.
Yeah.
And we can change it. And there's never been a better time. I have this saying, what's the difference between a problem and an opportunity? Your mindset. And right now
That's a
we
good
have
point.
an amazing opportunity to truly do what so many people have wanted to do for years and years and years. And that is improve our education system and help those who need it most.
Yeah.
And we
I
can do
agree.
that. And we can do that with this research. And we can truly help all of the Griffins. And it can be done. The proof is in the pudding. Barbara has dedicated her life to this, and she knows, and she has the science to back up what we're saying in theory. Thank you.
Okay.
I can't say thank you enough for sharing. I know this is like, you feel like it took a lot of courage for you to share. And
thank you.
I'm telling you, grandparents, you want somebody to get your back, it's your grandparents.
It's our job.
They're the best. Thank you very much,
You're
Louise.
welcome.